It's evident that he cares. What do you care about? Welcome to the Rock Newman Show. It's the Rock Newman Show.
You have to support the institutions that support you. You know, and I'm really concerned about the health and well-being of my customer base, which is why we do what we do. Sure, I could take another route. It's my space. I can do whatever I want to do with it. But I purposefully and with intention bring healthy food to our community so that we can make a difference in your health, your length of life, your quality of life, how you look, how you feel, and how much energy you got. That's our purpose and that's our foundation. And I don't know of any other restaurants that are doing that for us. They might be doing it for some other communities, but they're not doing it for us. I was born and raised in the Democratic Republic of Southeast Washington, D.C., when Southeast was something that you wore on your chest. And people looked up to people from Southeast because they knew you went through some stuff in order to come to the point wherever you are in life. And I've been through that all my entire life. You think about special events that took place in my life, it would have to happen or start even before I was born, when my mother sat in the abortion clinic and said, no, I'm not going to do this. This baby's going to live. And gave me this opportunity to come to this dispensation of time on this plane and do the work that I've been given here to do. So that was a very significant thing. Had that not happened the way it did, I would not have been here. I would say some other significant players. My mother is very, very significant, and there's some conversations that I remember her having when I was beginning to mature and started looking at young ladies, and she pulled me aside one day and said, you know, you got to be careful because it seems like you're making them the prize when no, son, you're the prize. And had me kind of retool my thinking as it relates to relationships and my interaction with the young ladies. I would say my grandmother was also a very significant person in my existence, as she was the one who took care of me from the time I got home from school to the time I went to bed many times. And my grandmother was very instrumental in making me recognize how significant the things that I was doing were. And from fixing bicycles and repairing lawnmowers at a very young age to cutting the grass and making money on my own and generating my own cash flow back in the day. It was a very significant relationship that I had with her, and she passed on a lot of wisdom, old wisdom. She was able to pass that on to me so that I started life at a much older age, than I was, at least mentally, than I was chronologically. So it was good. It was good. I would say some other significant things which led to me being in the restaurant space is I was in second grade when I was eating my lunch, and the most attractive woman I had ever met in my entire life was my second grade teacher. And when she walked up to me and said, what is that you're eating? And I told her it was a pork chop sandwich, and her forehead wrinkled up as one would when they're a little disappointed in what you're doing. When she did that, I already knew this was going to be the last time I ate pork chop sandwich. I didn't know how far it was going to go. She said, no, you shouldn't eat anything that comes from the pig because all of it is bad for you. And that started me on the journey to being more cognizant and conscious about what it is that I allowed into my body. And I was at age 7. And then at age 11, I decided to drop it all because when I started dealing with the conversation of why I stopped eating pork, I realized that's the same conversation for beef, chicken, fish, and everything else in that whole space. So that's when I stopped that. And who would have thought that one conversation would have had an impact on me up until this day, that it would have led to me opening up a plant-based soul food restaurant. So that was probably one of the most significant events that took place. I'll close with one other. That there was a gentleman who used to do work around my house, and he said, things are getting bad in our neighborhood. I grew up in Southeast D.C., so things are getting bad in our neighborhood. And he said he knows it's bad because now the target has gone from the men to the babies, to the children. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I was a child, and he said, yeah, the target is on you now. They're coming after you. And I remember when you would see, and I came up through crack cocaine, and I came up through get tough on crime, and I came up through, lock them up, 3 strikes you're out, all the rest. I came up through all of that. And I was, never forget what he said to me. He was saying that, you have to make sure that you're looking beyond the immediate. And if you don't look beyond the immediate, sometimes you're going to get into a fight that you really didn't need to. Or sometimes you're going to provoke something that you're going to do something that looks like it's really fun, but you're not thinking about how this is going to affect you tomorrow. And it changed my life. Changed my life. My father, again, is another significant person in my life, in that my father took me when I had a summer job. My father took me away from being automotive mechanic in DC, Northeast DC, Southeast Northeast DC. I was working in Meyer's shop, and he one day pulled up. It was boiling hot outside, and he said, "Come get in the car." I said, "Where? What's going on? Where are we going?" He said, "I'm going to take you to a college." And I said, I'm not interested in going there. I want to be an automotive mechanic. I like what I'm doing." He said, "Get in the car." He said, I'm gonna show you something." So we drove to 3 colleges, and he said, "Make up your mind. You want to go to one of these?" 3 colleges in like 3 days, I think we went. And he said, "Make up your mind. You want to go to one of these, and if you do, I'll pay for it. I'll cover the expenses. And but if not, it's okay. You know, you can go on back to the automotive repair shop and do your thing." And I chose at that point to go to Lincoln University after seeing the schools and kind of feeling the energy on the campuses. I decided I would go. And literally, we're on a Thursday, and the freshman students come in on Saturday, 2 days from, and they said your enrollment is closed. And my father pulled out a wad of money and said, "Well, let's see whether we can open it back up. Maybe somebody can open it back up." And he had paid for the whole year. He was paying for the whole year. He's like, "Let's see whether that'll work for us." And sure enough, it did. I went home, got all my stuff together, packed everything up, and lickety split, you know. And before I know it, I was back on the road, headed up to Lincoln University, where I got a chance to be away from the support system of my family, and kind of develop my own manhood and develop my own vision for what it is that I wanted to do. And I'm very thankful for those influences in my life.
I watched the interview with you, and you initially talked about some interest in corporate America.
Sure.
Yeah, and so what was the shift? What was that like, from interest in corporate America to going into health and food?
Sure. Yeah, so I was in IT. I left college, and I was in the IT space doing. I was even on this. I was probably on the tail end of the wave of first black people to do it, right? Mm-hmm. So I was the first black engineer in the company, and then I was the first black systems engineer and systems analyst, and so on. So I was blazing a trail in this company, very successful. I picked up things very quickly in that whole world of network analysis, communication, and information technology. It was going very well. I was a sales engineer, so I could do both sides of the sales process. So they didn't need to bring an engineer out when I was there, because I could do the engineering, plus I could do the sales side of that conversation with the customer or potential customer. And because I was doing my business primarily in DC, most of my computer shops were run by black folk. So there was another kind of camaraderie that we had, another kind of interaction. So I was very successful. I was, in fact, the #1 sales rep in the company for the year that I did do that. However, it was a very interesting and side note that I was not given an award for my accomplishment because I happened to be an engineer and a sales rep. And because I was an engineer and a sales rep, and it was an award for pure salespeople, they had to pull it back from me because, "Oh, well, you're doing too much, so we're gonna give it to somebody who's doing less than you're doing." I said, "Oh, okay, it doesn't matter. Just give me the money. Whatever it is, just make sure I get the money." And they gave me the money. I did very well financially in that space. One day I was working with a food conference, and we were setting up the computers, making sure everything is talking, make sure all the stuff is working as it should. And a woman was practicing her speech from the podium. As you know, the sound guy was doing his thing, I was doing the IT work, and she was practicing her speech, and she got to a point in her speech where she said, "If you control a man's food, you control him." And the minute she said him, it immediately, like a Stepford husband kind of scenario, I immediately shifted my whole focus of my whole life away from IT and now into the space of health and wellness, into the space of food and bringing healthy food to our community. Because in that split second, I saw the ramps and the ambulances and all the funerals and all the things that were going on in my community that had become so commonplace that we were just becoming comfortable with being sick. We had all decided it was okay for everybody in the neighborhood to have a ramp on the house because they couldn't walk up the steps anymore, so they needed a wheelchair or whatever it is that they needed because they had a limb lopped off as a result of diabetes or whatever it may have been. And I said, no, that was it. That's why we're overweight. That's why everybody's suffering from chronic illness. And I said, this is my opportunity to, again, make a big difference in our community. So that's when I launched out and said, no, we're going to open up. I immediately, when I heard her say him, I ran outside, got on my cell phone and said, hey, call my wife. We're going to open up a restaurant. What? We're going to do what? I said, yeah, we're going to open up a restaurant. I'm going to talk to you about it when I get home. And sure enough, by the second weekend after that, I had food that I was packaging in my garage and distributing to 5 households that I had gotten to get on board with me.
So did any of your corporate skills help you make that transition? Did you find yourself using any of those corporate skills in what you were going in the restaurant business?
Sure. I'm sure some of them helped, but some of them were hurtful because I was a community activist. And see, in corporate America, you're like a shark. You're like a lion. You're capturing as much opportunity as you can. You don't care about what victims you have out there. You're just going out to get that money, and you're killing and you're eating. And that's how it worked out there. However, in the community activist space, and the being an activist for the benefit of your population and the people that you serve, your customer is not necessarily your victim. Your customer is not necessarily, this prey that you're looking for, but your customer is actually somebody who you're looking to partner with as you're working to help them live a longer life, have a better quality of life, have more energy, look better, and feel better. So it was a different scenario where in corporate America, I was selling, and once I sold and you signed the check and the check hit the bank and it was good and we distributed the money, I'm on to my next client, and I'm doing the same deal. It's a little different in that I was working to help people have a better quality of life. And it's interesting how so many of the customers that I had from the very beginnings of my work in the restaurant space, they're still my customers. Their children are my customers. Their grandchildren are now my customers. So it's, it's a little different world, a little different.
Well, your first locations were around in D.C. That's where your first locations were.
First location was actually in Temple Hills in my garage.
Temple Hills, cool,
right.
cool.
And then I was right across from Howard University, and I had the benefit of being right next to a vegetarian restaurant. So immediately, as there was a restaurant back then, I was just a grocery store. So I was a grocery store, and had basic, some healthy food items that you might, maybe snack items we might want to call it. So I was more of a small shop. Then I moved to a larger facility, and we turned into a juice bar, cafe, along with a grocery store.
Okay, and that was around 1995 in that era.
1995.
And this is when D.C. was coming out of her murder capital days, so to speak. What was that experience like, starting a business?
Well, I was right on Hobart Street in 1998, and bullets used to come through our front roll-down door. We would be in the back doing what we do in preparation for the next day, and you could hear the guns popping off out in the street. And I remember the day that we heard the bullet come through the front, go through the front wall, go all the way through the back wall, and land in our back dining room when we were down there on Georgia Avenue. So yeah, it was challenging. And I remember having even customers. There was a brother who came in, and he was trying to get to his money. He couldn't get to his money, so he had to pull his gun out and put it on the counter in order to get to his money. And I was like, brother, okay. And but that was the world that we were living in then. And that was the reality of what we were facing. So to come and to be able to save grandma and mama and give them an opportunity to not have to walk to the greasy spoon, or not have to walk to places that didn't offer healthy food in the first place, to now give them a place where they could come and get healthy food, or where they could come and get the vegetables, the produce that they needed in order to be able to fix some healthy food at home. It was a real blessing. It was a treat. Yeah.
Okay, now your doors are open. You know, you're unsure what's going to happen. And you mentioned two people that really set the trend for you, Dr. Joel Pulchrum and Stevie Wonder. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, there are a number of people, but I would have to go back. So leaving corporate America, making $250,000 in 6 months I left after 6 months of working that year. I left because it was becoming too stressful, to the point where it was impacting my relationship, it was impacting my ability to be successful in other areas of my life. And we swung the doors open. I remember my first day of business, we made $18. And I said, I think I made a mistake. I think I made a mistake. And we struggled on the front end because now we had to first become recognized as something of value to the community. And then we had to get more people to do business with us, which was tough. It was tough because I decided to open up in the middle of the hood. I mean, it was rough. People didn't walk around that area unless they lived in that area, you know. So, but we grew the business, we grew our brand, and it was one day I was in the restaurant and one of my employees was having a hard time with one of my customers, and the customer was telling him how he should run the business and what foods he should have and why he shouldn't have this on the shelf and this isn't good for black people, and goes down the list of all of this. And he finally gets frustrated and he said, you know, something to her that was very dismissive, almost to the point of telling her, look, sis, maybe we're not the right place for you. And I jumped in because I'm like, look, I got to pay the rent. You know, that's rent money. Let's go ahead and do what we can to make her happy. And so I had a conversation with her, and we walked all through the store. I said, give me everything. I want to know everything that you said to him that he rejected. I want to know so I can write it down. I wrote everything down that she said. And then we got to the register. She bought the food that she wanted to buy. And I said, ma'am, I got to know who you are, because you're not a typical customer that comes through. And she said, my name is Dr. Joel Pulchrum. I said, oh, okay. I said, what kind of doctor are you? She said, I'm a naturopath, but I'm also a gynecologist. And board certified, PhD. She's a teaching gynecologist. And I said, okay, now it's all making sense. And I said, it would be great if you could come up here and speak, because there's a population of people, I heard it today, there's a population of people that really would benefit from hearing all the great information that you shared with me today. And she said, I'd love to. And within maybe a month and a half period of time, she was speaking on behalf of E-Life Restaurant, Everlasting Life back then, at Howard University, to a room probably had 200 to 300 people in there, because we had got her on the radio stations and we got her doing interviews and we did marketing and promotions, and a lot of people knew of her as well. So she put us on the map and gave us the credibility, and that she told the people in the audience, I'll never forget, she said, look, you know, had it not been for this gentleman here, had it not been for this business, I probably wouldn't be here speaking. And I want you all to understand how important it is for us to, as a community, to support the institutions that support us. And so she was the one who kind of framed that for me, and also in the minds of our customers, made them understand how important it is for them to support E-Life Everlasting Life Restaurant back then. And then you mentioned, I would say, before I get to Stevie, I would mention Michael Baisden. I was one day sitting at home doing what I do, whatever that was back then in 2007, and I got a phone call on a Monday. And the guy was real high-spirited and high energy. He said, hey, this is Mike Baisden. I want you to come on my radio show tomorrow. And I said, yeah, right, okay. This is who? This is Michael Baisden. I said, really? He said, yeah, it's Michael Baisden. And I said, okay, all right. Now, what are we doing? He said, I want you to come on my show tomorrow, and I want you to talk about diabetes and what we can do naturally to overcome diabetes. And I said, sure, I'll do it. And so it was very interesting, because on that day I had just gotten my website up. Google Voice had just come out a couple months before. I had just gotten this Google Voice account, and it's going to be significant. That's why I'm talking about that. But I go on the Michael Baisden show for a half hour. And he said for this half hour, he said it was the most successful show he had since being on the air. He said he hadn't gotten that much feedback on a show since being on the air. And I was impressed. I'm thankful that it turned out that way. When I got off of the radio, I was able to look at my account, my emails. I gave up my email address, I gave up my website, and I gave up my phone number. I got 25,000 voicemails that day. I got 12,000 emails that day. in one half-hour show. That's what we did. So the kind of impact that he had on us was and I apologize for those who haven't, but I still haven't responded to all of those emails and voicemails. And I won't, of course, now, because that was, almost 20 years ago. But that was pretty significant. And then, of course, at 8:59, about 5 years ago, 8:59 in the evening, we shut our doors at 9 o'clock. 8:59, a guy walked through my door. He had to be all of 6'100". A huge gentleman walks through the door, and with a deep voice, he comes over to me and says, "Excuse me, can you take all these tables and move them right here and put these chairs right here so we can block off a section right here in the back?" And I said, yeah, we can do that, but it's 8:59. He said, "Yeah, no problem. I would like to section off this part of your restaurant, and I want just two tables back here for people to sit and eat." And I said, "Okay, so I kind of lackluster, I began to do what he asked me to do because I couldn't figure out what he was doing, because I'm like, okay, we're all done for today. We're ready to go home." And then he goes back out to his big SUV, and he opens up the back door. Bald-head dude gets out the back door, and, I'm not paying much attention to it. And then I look, and I zero in. I was like, before I get there, I should mention that when he was walking out the door, I said, "Who am I doing this for? What is this? What's going on?" He said, "Well, I have Mr. Wonder in the truck." So I'm like, "Mr. Wonder, who's Mr. Wonder?" And, of course, he steps out the truck, and I was like, "Stevie Wonder." I holler into the staff, "Turn on the ovens, get everything back up. Let's go, let's get it going." So we started up the restaurant all over again, and we served Stevie Wonder. That evening, he probably stayed for 2 hours, so we were there till at least 11 o'clock. And he enjoyed the food. He ate a lot of food. He ate a lot of food, man. And we were very thankful. And it was news that night, because, of course, I'm putting it out on the wire, and he allowed us to take pictures, so we were doing all of that. And the next day, there were so many press releases. There were so many press people trying to get in contact. When is Stevie coming back? Is he going to be there today? So on and so forth, boom, boom, boom. But the most significant thing that happened was the number of customers who came through the door. And they would ask, "Oh, is this the restaurant where Stevie Wonder ate at?" I said, yeah. It's kind of weird, but yeah, this is it. We're the one. And, okay, you mind me asking, where did Stevie sit? And I said, "Okay. All right, let's go for it. Let's go." He sat right over there in that corner right there. "Okay, great. Can we sit there?" I said, "Yeah, come on over. Let's sit there." And then, they looked over the menu and did their thing, boom, 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 and they called me back over. "Hey, can you tell me what Stevie ordered?" I said, "Yeah, okay, I can tell you." So I gave him, I took his order, so I knew everything that he got. And she said, "We want all of that." I said, "Okay, all right, let's go for it." Boom. And it was, the first time it happened, it was odd. About the 20th time that it happened, I said, "Oh, this is a thing. This is a thing." So that was a great boost, and it was the first time, I would say with those three individuals, maybe so it wasn't the first time, but it was a very significant marketing and promotion campaign that happened without us even really implementing and definitely not paying for it. He gave us a huge shot in the arm. Our business went up in every one of our locations back then. We were very blessed to have him come and dine with us that evening.
Okay, so you went from technical in your career to a naturopath.
Yeah.
So tell us about that evolution. And first, what is a naturopath?
Okay, a naturopath is one that seeks to bring balance and health and homeostasis to the body naturally. Whereas in the allopathic world, they're looking to treat and mask illnesses. We're looking to really get to the core issue, the core problem, which many times is a nutritional deficiency or a toxicity in the body or a blockage or a parasite or whatever it might be. But we look to address it naturally so that we can naturally get the person back into a space of balance and health where they're not drug dependent and where they're not getting all the side effects of the pharmaceutical drugs that they're getting. So yeah, I left the IT world. I left fixing computers and fixing networks and fixing communication problems to fixing the problems inside human beings and to fixing the psychology that we had. And as a matter of fact, I think it's important to note, as we think about the most significant health challenges that are affecting our community, most of us would probably say diabetes and high blood pressure, cancer, and heart disease. Now, the most significant health challenge that we have is low self-worth. And when we feel better about ourselves, we make better choices on behalf of ourselves, and therefore we get better results. But because we feel so low about ourselves, it becomes very difficult to convince people that they don't buy the expensive car, don't buy the expensive shoes, don't buy the latest cell phone, don't, all the other things that we're spending money on that we really don't need to be spending money. Spend money on what's going inside of you to make you healthier so that you can live better and have a better quality of life and length of life. Sure. Well, I was on the radio before I got on Mike Baisden's show, but I did Mike Baisden for 4 years. And it was very good. To think that I'm speaking to 13 million people every time I got on the air. My phone, my email was, I was having to start a new email account almost every year because I was just so overwhelmed. It got full because of the amount of attention that we got. And it was very good. It helped our business a lot. Being able to get on the radio and do that, and also developing a comfort level, watching an expert like him, developing a comfort level for being on the air and talking to people, interviewing people and being interviewed. It helped out a lot in being able to engage on that level, and then being able to distribute that across social media, before it was even as popular, of course, as it is today, but to be able to distribute that and get the recognition and get the exposure and get the customer base increase behind that. It was very good.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So you've had several locations. You started off Tacoma Park, then went to DC, and then I guess this is like one of the final locations where you really set your roots.
No, it started out in Temple Hills, went to Georgia Avenue, right across from Howard University. Then I moved up further on Georgia Avenue. Then I gave that last Georgia Avenue location to my head chef at that time, and he took that location and built a nice network, a nice business enterprise in the plant-based soul food space as well. So I actually gave him a business so that he could be a competition to me, which, it was cool. But I probably wouldn't have done it that way. I probably would have said, let's partner and grow this thing together. But it was cool. And then I opened up Tacoma Park. And then I opened up, I was on Georgia Avenue, then I opened up out here. So I've been here 25 years. And then we went to Tacoma Park, and then we went to Southeast Washington, D.C. And I've had to close the 2 locations, the one in Tacoma Park, which is actually D.C. as well. And then I'll close the one in Southeast Washington, D.C. because of some of the dynamics, whether it be hours of operation or parking scenarios or just the customer base and the support that we got there wasn't strong enough to keep us as viable as we were out here. And I just decided, let me come back home and let me strengthen my home base, so that once this is strong, then I can start possibly, splintering off and doing some other things. But when I wasn't strong here, it was reflective in what was going on outside of here as well as here. So that's why we just decided to bring everything back home and, let's strengthen the base.
So how has it been your experience, here in Capitol Heights at Central Avenue?
Capitol Heights has been a wonderful experience, and we've combined things. So we recognized after Dr. Jewel Pookrum did her thing on stage and gave us credibility, that if we bring people of note to our stage who can give credibility to the work that we're doing, then it makes my job easier. And it also allows people to leapfrog from doubt to not even giving consideration to all of a sudden now becoming full bore. I'm going to eat this way because that's what Professor Griff said. And if Professor Griff said it, then I know it's right. And I'm not going to argue with him. I'm just going to do it. So we have a number of customers that we have developed. And they fit into categories like, I'm sick and I'm about to die, I better do something. So that we got that customer. We got the radical customer who doesn't want to do anything that anybody else is doing. They want to do something different, and we were definitely something different. They're the people who just want to support a black business. They're the people who, have watched their mom, dad, aunt, uncle get old or not too old and die. Actually, what happens is they get sick and die. And they said, I don't want that for myself. So how can I navigate this thing? And they find their way here, and we talk about what we're doing. And E-Life, although it's a plant-based restaurant, we're a restaurant where we really commit ourselves to our community. Unlike many of the others, we're really committed to, I go back over this list again, giving people a chance to live longer, have a better quality of life, look better, feel better, and have more energy. And that's our foundation. That's what we want to do with every food, with every customer that we have. That's our goal. So we've been successful at that, and people believe us. We're not a fly-by-night. We're not new to this. We're true to this, and we're not just gimmicky. You see a lot of places now opening up. Okay, well, we're gonna offer you 4 or 5 vegan options, or we'll give you a vegan burger, but everything else is poison. And believe it or not, the vegan burger is probably not that healthy either that they offer at those locations. So but we're true to this. Our foundational mantra and motivation is that the health of our community would elevate. So it's been a great journey. We've had great successes, and it's really great to see that many of the people who come to me initially for a health consultation converted to be a customer. And like I said earlier, they're now lifelong customers. It's really a blessing.
Interesting you mentioned Griff. I met Griff here.
Yeah.
And so could you give us like a rundown of, at the top of your head, a lot of the people that came here and gave lectures?
All the people that have come here. Wow, we go back to Dr. Sabi and Dr. Africa and Professor Griff and Dr. Phineas Bike. Some of y'all will remember that name, Dr. Phineas Bike. And we got Maurice Latham, and we've got Brother Sunshine out of Texas. We've got, people that have not spoken it specifically in the space of health and wellness. We've got Judge Joe Brown, and we've got Baba Baruti, and we've got Ashra Kwesi and Kaba Khomeini, and our brother pastor out of Atlanta, his Hagins. Brother Ray Hagins has been here to speak. So we've had a good cross section of
Sister Shahrazad.
Sister Shahrazad Ali. I got to get our sisters in there. So Sister Shahrazad Ali. We've had Queen Afua here. We've had, of course, Dr. Jewel Pukram here, and had a number of people come through and bless us, as well as just be customers. We've had Monique, and we've had Colin Kaepernick, and I think Raheem Devon, and brother from the 5th floor on the Martin Show. So we had a number of significant customers and presenters here at the restaurant.
Can you talk about some of the challenges of being a black-owned business, and especially being a black-owned business in the health space?
So one of the most significant challenges of being a black-owned business is the short, the higher expectation that black people have for us as compared to somebody else, and it's that we can't do any wrong, because the minute we do something wrong, they love. I mean, it's like our people relish the thought of being able to come to me and say, "I'm not going to do business with you anymore. We will not be coming back." I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm not begging you to come back. But I'm just wondering whether when you get disrespected, or when you get, a bad experience at, somebody else's place, do you say that? Do you feel that? Is that some way is that the way you communicate with them? And of course, no. We're there next week, being disrespected all over again, but yeah, so I know that's been a tough piece. But see, I got it on both ends. So I've got my employee base has been, until recently, it was 100% black. But it has evolved since then, because I'll maybe speak a little bit on that too, of why it's evolved. But to have a black person behind the counter, a black person owning the business, and a black customer, that can be volatile. And by that I mean, some of them think, okay, because it's owned by a black person, they can, what's that quote? Hey brother, can I get the hookup? No, you can't get the hookup. I paid for this to be prepared. Pay the money so that I can sell it to you and stay in business. People want the hookup. People will challenge and question and criticize what it is that I do. And it's amazing the number of us that will come in and start giving me business advice. Well, you ever thought about, and going back, way back, you ever thought about selling fried chicken? I mean, real chicken. If you sold real chicken, you would attract a whole lot of people to what you're doing. You probably grow this business a lot faster. I said, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And I got some advice from a brother many years later. He said, well, just tell them, why don't you start that restaurant? And let me see how that works for you. You open up a plant-based restaurant and sell chicken along with it. See how that works for you. But so it's been a challenge, but it's also been very rewarding to watch our people. You know that they're benefiting from the food that they're getting here. And you know, when I think about our customer base, the majority of our customers are black men. And black men are coming here to get mama's cooking. Because this is going to be the closest thing that they're going to get to what mama might have prepared that was healthy for them as they were growing up, or even as older, as young men, that they got an opportunity to get some of mama's cooking. And I remind them that's what naturally causes them to gravitate, because they know that this isn't overly commercialized. We're not faking what we're doing. So if I can get a better quality, whatever, we're going to get it. If I can, again, if I can challenge myself to make more money, otherwise, I'm going to make more money otherwise, so I could keep my price point down. So I'm working to do whatever I can to help my community, which is what this is about. I'm not a business owner. I own the business, but I'm not a business owner like that. I'm really a community activist, working to do whatever I can to help our community live longer, have a better quality of life. Those things are significant. Yes, sir.
And so that's a good segue into this question, because how synthetic everything is today, and artificial. We got artificial intelligence. We got all this stuff going on now. And so how significant are establishments like Everlasting Life, E-Life,
sure,
to a community, especially black communities there? And also get into some of the services that you do, because it's more than just cooking.
Sure. We're lifesavers. I think we save people. There are people who, when I stand at the door, they walk by me and they say thank you, and I know why they're saying thank you. They're not just saying thank you for being open today. They're not saying thank you because I held the door for them today. They're saying thank you because, you know what, had it not been for you, we wouldn't be here. They're talking about themselves and their health. They know that it was something, either somebody who I had come in and speak that presented to them, or something that I said, or something that they saw here. There was times when we would have a video running all day long, and it would just be a health video all day long to substantiate, what it is that we're telling people they need to do with us. And it was very beneficial. We want to get back to that, in fact. But those things are very significant. And I think it's no small thing that many of our customers recognize the significance of our presence in the community. Then they'll say thanks for being here, man. Thanks for being, because I know where are you going to go? Where are you going to go where the person that owns the restaurant eats the food at the restaurant? You go to some of them other places and they don't eat the food because they know what's up. And you talk about synthetic, sure, the whole food industry has seen the wave, and they jumped ahead of the wave. They didn't jump ahead of me. I was before all of them back in 1995. But now they jumped in, and now they're creating all of this analog and artificial, synthetic meat products. And I can say two things about that. One, I have to offer it to my customer base in order to help them transition from that other world. But on the other side of that, I can also say it's not the best thing for us. It's not the destination. It's just the point of transition. As we transition out from eating the standard American diet, now we're moving into the plant-based soul food diet, and we have layers, we have levels, and we take them up. We start them down at the fried chicken and the macaroni and cheese and the collard greens, and we grow them up to the point where they're eating all organic. And we're actually now working on a project to provide food that has no added salt, no added sugar, no oil, and we're going to be able to make food that's tasty. But the whole notion behind it is it's called 30 to life. That's what we're calling it today, 30 to life. It sounds like a prison sentence, right? But it's actually we're looking to add 30% to the person's life. So wherever you are in life, if you eat this way, out of this space within our restaurant, then you can expect that wherever you were going to terminate at, you're going to get more. Much like you're adding Miracle-Gro to a tomato plant. You're going to get more tomatoes. It's going to grow taller. It's going to look more vibrant, except with, unlike with Miracle-Gro, this is all natural.
So, I don't know if you got into a lot of the things that you do here. You
asked me about that. So what else do we do? So I do consulting. So I consult people in the space of health and wellness. I also do business consulting. So we have people come in, we want to open up a business. Can we come and listen, sit at your feet and listen to what you would tell us to do? And I do that. I do that quite often. You know, I'll go to their place of business and talk to them about that. We also have decided that food, we're known for. 30 years of doing food, we're known for. But what we'd like to get into now is the entertainment space. And the reason why we chose entertainment is because the entertainment attracts a broad cross-section of people that otherwise might not ever get this close to this food and might not ever get this close to this restaurant. So let's do the entertainment. We had a sellout concert last Saturday, and 130 people dining with us and listening to the music and having a really great time, and many of them have since come back through to buy some of the food that we have here. But that's where we see ourselves making the next 30-year impact. Let's impact positive music. Just as we've impacted positive food and the vibrational and frequency and energy of food, we've allowed people to see how they can take that up to the next level and get better results. We believe we can do the same thing in the entertainment space and become a space where people know that this is sacred. And this is where you're going to get a good quality entertainment, good quality food, and a good quality experience with other people looking to get the same thing. So that's one of our big motivations, is to get our dining room as active as we possibly can in the space of entertainment, but also in the space of education. We still want to bring in those experts, those people who know how to do this better than us, or who know how to do this and can substantiate and confirm that what we're doing is really a good thing, and have them come in and speak and teach our customer base how they can be successful and what experiences they had, so that they can relate better to them and, you know, get their health and get their life together and the life of their family and community.
Okay, well, Dr. Baruch, thank you for sitting with us. We'll let you close out with whatever final words you would like to say.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that I would share with our community is this, that you know, I go back to some things that I said, that you have to support the institutions that support you. You know, and I'm really concerned about the health and well-being of my customer base, which is why we do what we do. Sure, I could take another route. It's my space. I can do whatever I want to do with it. But I purposefully and with intention bring healthy food to our community so that we can make a difference in your health, your length of life, your quality of life, how you look, how you feel, and how much energy you got. That's our purpose and that's our foundation. And I don't know of any other restaurants that are doing that for us. They might be doing it for some other communities, but they're not doing it for us and making the food where we intent on the front end of all of this. We took the healthiest food that we could find and infused it with soul for the sole purpose of attracting you. And if we could attract you to this, we knew we were going to get better health outcomes for you. And we've been successful at it for 30 years, and we want another 30 years, and we know we can't do it without you, so we look forward to you being in our space, 9033 Central Avenue, Capitol Heights, Maryland. Come on through, check us out. We love you, family.
Wonderful. Good. That's a wrap.
If you can dream it, if you can believe it can be done, if you can conceive, it's all on the one. No matter what others might think, say, or feel, if you can see it, it's already real. Right where you thought there was no open door, the miracle of life moved mountains galore. Anything the mind's eye can clearly see is yours through faith, no matter what it might be. If you can dream what you dream for the life of you, you must know that the dream of a lifetime can come true. For if you can see it in your mind from the inside out, you can rise above and beyond the shadow of a doubt. For if you can see it in your heart and soul, what you desire is yours to have and to hold. For if you believe that dreams do come true, you must conceive that it can happen for you, if you can believe it. I'm Poet Danny Queen.
Juanita's Remedy is an all-natural emollient designed to help alleviate mild skin conditions, such as dryness and mild inflammation. Made with natural ingredients selected for their vitamin, mineral, and anti-inflammation properties, with natural oils that replenish dry skin. Juanita's Remedy is perfect for replenishing your skin after a hot shower or bath, and is highly recommended for those that may find themselves washing their hands several times a day. Our mixture is perfect in restoring your skin with nutrients lost from constant hand washing. Visit JuanitasRemedy.net to begin nourishing your skin with the essence of nature with Juanita's Remedy.